Alrighty, folks, Sam Whitfield here. This is the Whitfield Report. I know I've been doing videos and live streams. It feels like just about every day this week. I usually don't put videos out on Sundays or do live streams. I will on occasion. But given, that this whole thing never seems to be ending, I figured that today would be important. I'll try and keep this video relatively short, but I want to go over a few things. First thing is first, the title of this video. I'll read off my own tweet, and yeah. I said this last night on the Whitfield Report, and I'll say it again here. Please do not go to DC on the 20th. There are other ways to voice your dissatisfaction with Biden's presidency, but the last thing we need are more Q-tards starting more shit and making conservatives look worse. And that is true. I said last night not to go to DC on the 20th. That it will make things worse if people do. I said not to go to DC on January 6th. I didn't necessarily say it on the show, but I kept getting messages from people asking if I was going to go to the DC thing on the 6th. And I said no. A, I don't have a way to get there. And B, I think that's a really bad idea. So I was warning people not to go to DC. And I wasn't the only one. There were other people who thought that going to DC was a bad idea. For the exact reason of what happened on the 6th. Especially with QAnon being there. Which, by the way, I know that the regulars who tune into this channel are sick and tired of me saying this. I know you guys have heard it 50 million times, and I know you guys are sick of hearing it. I'm sorry. I'm sick of saying it, but I have to for the normies and for the new people tuning in. I do not know what Q is. I do not know what QAnon is. I barely know what it is, rather. I am not in support of them. It's a LARP. They do not have a consistent message. And they do not speak for the vast majority of people who voted for Donald Trump in 2016 or 2020. QAnon is a LARP. It's smoke and mirrors. Basically, it's like I said last night, it is the Ovaltine decoder ring from A Christmas Story, right? Ralphie from A Christmas Story, he keeps saving like all these, over Ovaltine box tops or whatever, and then sends them away in the mail. He gets this, big, like, decoder ring. He tunes into the, radio show every single week. He gets the coded messages. He finally deciphers it, and what does it say? In the end, don't forget to drink your Ovaltine. It's a BS ad. It's a nothing burger. That's what QAnon is. Like, the only thing I pretty much know about QAnon is that there's like some sort of supposedly there's some like top military military intelligence like faction like trying to help Trump defeat the deep state and simultaneously arrest some pedophiles and whatnot, right? But then, I've also heard from Q people that it's more than that. There are it involves aliens and, interdimensional time travel, and hell, there are even space wizards. It's basically, ladies and gentlemen, QAnon, as far as I can tell, is basically like every independent author's, who has self-published a book on, Amazon. It's basically like every genre of fiction mashed into one and just thrown up, like literally barfed out onto the internet web form. And actually, that's as someone who has written like a mediocre self-published short story, that's actually an insult to people who write mediocre self-published fiction. Okay, QAnon isn't even that good, but point stands, it's BS, it's meaningless. So, the fact that they want to do this million martyr march on DC, that's not going to do anything but cause more division and more chaos. Whether it be whether it be the Q-tards themselves doing this, I've also heard, a lot of them were like, well, Antifa infiltrated. Antifa was the one who infiltrated, and they got within our ranks, and they organized it. It was chaos. And they're the ones that did this, not us. Well, then, all the more reason not to have this. If Antifa's in your ranks, don't, clean house first. Don't be going out there and holding an event when the enemy could be in your, could be in your rank and file, if that's true. But overall, Q is crazy and insane. I've spent enough time talking about them. Just please, for the love of God, folks, do not go to Washington, D.C. Just please don't. Like I said, it's going to cause much more chaos than, it's just going to cause more chaos than we're already in. And, on top of that, while I'm thinking of it, don't go to Facebook headquarters or, Google either. I've seen some people posting stuff about maybe meeting up, at Google headquarters or Twitter or Facebook or whatnot because, these people are being banned too. And while I disagree with the big tech censorship bans, and believe me, I do, I've said plenty on that too. Storming Google's headquarters and storming Twitter's headquarters and storming, whoever's headquarters is not going to do a damn thing except for continue to put people in a bad light, right? With it, it'll be the Capitol riots all over again. Who knows? It may be even worse, the perception. And it'll be pointless too, because guess what? A lot of the people who work in Silicon Valley, a lot of these, techies work from home. They're working from home right now, so there's no reason to storm, Facebook or Google or Twitter because a lot of these people are working from home. Don't go to their homes either. Just don't. I don't want to hear anything about storming or, organizing events or anything until well after the 20th. And if you're going to do it peacefully. Don't give the media any ammunition to make us look any worse. And that's exactly what QAnon has done. They've made us all look like idiots. All right. With that being said, Parler being banned from the App Store and AWS and Google is not good either, right? None of this is good. Uh, more censorship is not going to stop the problem. Parler, there are a lot of problems with Parler, but by and large, I haven't seen any hate speech on there when I've used it. Um, there aren't. They actually have a pretty strict terms of service. Like, you're not even allowed to post porn on there. From what I understand, there aren't any conspiracy, theory threads on there that I've seen. Of course, I haven't gone looking for them. And I guarantee you, if you go on Twitter, if you go on Twitter and you look hard enough, you can find, bigots and racists and edgelords there. But, Big Tech has now arbitrarily decided that because Parler's where all the Trump people are hanging out, it must be a bad spot. And that is just as frightening as the people who are storming the Capitol. The fact that Big Tech is now unilaterally censoring their competition off of platforms. It's it's very disheartening, whether you like or not, that Trump, a sitting president of the United States, love him or hate him, has been deplatformed from Twitter. And if it can happen to him, it can happen to anyone. And people say, oh, Sam, you won't be in trouble. Just follow Twitter's terms of service. Well, Twitter's terms of service tends to change more and more every day, and the language is arbitrary and hard to understand. So, I don't consider myself an edgelord or anything like that. I might make jokes, ironically, on videos, that are pretty obvious. But, I do my best to behave. With that being said, with the president being censored, like I said, anyone can be censored. So we are really, I wouldn't really say that Big Tech is on a slippery slope anymore. They've gone way off this slippery slope, and they're skidding down the mountain. And, just because, conservatives are being banned right now doesn't mean that it won't happen to liberals either. It can happen to anyone. And, like I said, this is frightening that Big Tech has this much power. Welcome to the United States of corporate America. Okay, finally, people are asking me, so, Sam, do you regret voting for Donald Trump? Was it worth it? Was it worth voting for Donald Trump after all this chaos? And yes, I would say that even after all this, I would still vote for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden in a heartbeat. I'm not saying that Trump is perfect. I'm not excusing anything that he did to incite what happened in DC. That's been established. No one is condoning this that I know of. But to say that voting for Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden would have been a better option, no, that's not going to fly. And what I want people to focus on, real quick, have you guys ever asked yourself why Donald Trump was elected president in the first place? Because I keep hearing people say, anti-Trumpers, that it is absurd and ridiculous that Donald Trump, a reality TV host, could have been elected to the presidency. And I actually agree with you guys. It is ridiculous and absurd that Donald Trump, a reality TV star, got elected to the presidency. It probably shouldn't have happened. But do you want to know why it happened? Think about it. It wasn't some thing where overnight everyone just decided we're going to do Donald Trump. Think about who was in the lineup running for president in 2015 and 2016. Right? We had Hillary Clinton on the Democrat side. Everyone knows that she was preordained to be the Democrat nominee. Nobody liked her, not even the Democrats. And yet she was preordained to be there. Then we had 15 other Republicans who I would say are more qualified than Hillary. But still, they were all politicians. They were all run-of-the-mill. And so we have Donald Trump, this wild card, this anomaly. And while I didn't support him at first, I have to admit that I was more curious than anything to, to see what he would have to say. And he talked about politicians in Washington, D.C., and how they were corrupt, how the swamp was, a big problem in D.C., how we were more interested, the politicians were more interested in our foreign relations than the people here in the country, and etc., etc. And like or not, that resonated with people because in part it is true. And so even if people didn't like Trump, right? At the end of the day, and I was one of these people that said, well, Trump has a bunch of flaws, he has a bunch of warts, but at the end of the day, what do we have left to lose? Because they keep giving us awful options like Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush during other presidential elections. So why not? Fuck it. Let's vote Trump. So we did, and Trump ran. And then I even said at one point on the podcast, I think it was like in 2018 maybe 2019, that if the Democrats could find a a less leftist candidate, if they could find someone who wasn't so far to the left that it was wacko, and if they if they could find someone other than like an establishment type like Joe Biden, I could vote for a Democrat maybe. So, I could vote for someone who isn't, Bernie Sanders, and I could also vote for a Democrat who isn't Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren, career politicians. Give us someone fresh. Give us someone who is, more moderate. Give us a JFK Democrat. That's what. I would want if I were to ever consider switching parties. But no, because JFK would be too conservative for the left's standard these days. So, again, people felt like voting for Trump. And, Trump lost the election. Biden is the president elect. Or rather, I should say that, Biden was chosen as the president elect. Let me put it that way. But still, I don't see the appeal of him other than that he's not Trump. And maybe that is the only appeal. But I can't guarantee things are going to be any better under Biden. In fact, I think they're going to get worse. But this is where we're at in American politics, folks. We don't have any good options politically. So, at the end of the day, we're forced to choose the lesser of two evils when voting. And that ultimately, that is my regret. The biggest regret I have, folks, isn't so much that I voted for Donald Trump both times. That's not my regret at all. My regret is that Donald Trump was the least shitty option that we had. And some of you might not think that that's shit at all. I know a bunch of you think that that is the shittiest decision. But I'm here to tell you that, it was the least worst shitty option. Alright, folks, that'll do it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm not expecting a whole bunch of likes on this video. To be honest, and I'll be back, I'll be back later in the week, probably on Thursday for a live stream, and we'll go from there. Alright, God bless, God save this great nation, God, freedom, legacy, in that order, and I will see you on the next podcast and or video.